Hello everyone, and good morning, afternoon, or evening. Today we'll be reading a couple stories that I've gathered for you guys. There's no specific subreddit today, but if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Now let's get into the first post. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not Jewish? My wife, female 43, and I, male 39, traveled across the country to see my parents. We live in the Pacific Northwest, and my parents live in New England, specifically North Coast coastal Massachusetts. My parents wanted to take us out to dinner and have my sister, female 44, and her boyfriend, male 49, come too. My sister and I aren't particularly close, but we have had a fine enough adult relationship. We were closer before I moved to the West Coast. My mom has been researching family history for a few years. She submitted her DNA to one of those websites that track ancestry and genealogy. Through matching DNA, she even found a long-lost brother who had been up for adoption. She also learned that one of her grandparents was a Jew. So, according to DNA results, my mother is also quarter Ashkenazi Jewish. This would make my sister and me roughly 12% Ashkenazi Jewish. We didn't grow up religious at all. My immediate family didn't attend church or any religious meetings. My dad grew up Catholic, went to Catholic school, and attended Mass every Sunday until he moved out to go to college. After that, he was done. My mom grew up in a non-religious household. She did have a King James Bible in her nightstand, but I never saw her open it. At dinner, my sister and my mom were at one of the tables talking, and somehow our Jewish ancestry was mentioned. Both my sister and mom said to the table, "We are Jewish." I responded by saying, "I'm sorry, but Judaism is a religion, and you should be practicing to call yourself Jewish." My sister said, "Well, don't tell that to my son. This is really important to him." I responded by explaining that it was cool to embrace family history, but that they shouldn't call us Jewish when we've never practiced, been to a temple, or followed any laws of the rituals. She called me ignorant. So, I asked her, "Would you claim to be Jewish in a room full of Jews or at a temple?" She didn't answer the question and continued arguing about how I should be less ignorant, and asked if I thought Jesus was a Jew. By this point, everyone seemed uncomfortable, so I thought it was best to be quiet and let them change the conversation. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not Jewish? OP is definitely not the a-hole here. Jewish is not an identity or ethnicity, it is a practice of Judaism. Now, while some people can be born into a Jewish family, being Jewish does not come from that. OP in the post was right. They don't practice Judaism, they've never been to a temple, and they've never even practiced the rituals. How can someone claim they're Jewish if they've never even practiced a single law that they follow? Now, onto post number 2. This one involves text messages, so if anyone gets confused about the dialogue, I will have the text messages on screen for you guys. Boyfriend just broke up with me over romance movies. Help me. Context. Could someone please confirm that I'm not in the wrong and it's a movie? Me and my partner, both 19, have been together for almost 2 years now. We've been having so much issues lately and we've been working on it. We broke up a few days ago and we tried to talk it out, but we brought up all the issues that were ruining us. And I told him I was watching a romance movies recently and it completely changed his mood and made him disgusted. He said it's a boundary he has and I cannot watch them because they brainwash women and make fake expectations. He said that this is his one boundary and to me it sounds ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I sent him some articles, some Reddit posts proving why romance isn't a bad thing, and that was the final straw. He said I'm trying to prove his feelings wrong, which I get, but that's so insane to me. A part of me feels guilty, but I mean over romance? How absurd, I can't. We had a lot of issues, but what's crazy is we fixed them, and then I said I wanted to watch The Friends, and wanted to watch a rom-com, he said that was my final kick. Please read this part, update, and WDID. I'm so confused right now. He came to my house sobbing and begging me tonight and said how he's fine with me watching romances if it takes staying with me. He just didn't feel like enough. I know I shouldn't take him back, but he's now saying I should be grateful he's going on walks with him, etc. He was generally having a panic attack and left his house in pajamas and ran 20 minutes to my house and was banging on my door. I was terrified, but I let him in and spoke a whole lot of nothing. He's begging me to stay with him. I feel so weird. His parents even try to get his mother asking where my address is. I'm convinced he has so many mental health issues to work on and he must do that alone. The text messages say, "But watching romances while you're with me makes you feel really bad. Am I not enough romance? Some of them are funny, but ones strictly about that are so insulting. This is what pisses me off about you two and all your effing romances, blank. Life isn't that. You have a 0.1% chance of that. I'm a small chance. So many effing horrible people. No effing when we're not going out places the weather's horrible and I'm effing broke. Yeah, complain saying you don't want to pay anymore. No effing S. I don't want to pay you, see my bank account, and I see yours and you just don't care. Why wouldn't I tell you the movie? Because maybe you're watching a romance. I watched Twilight for you. I watched this Essie horror movie. I watched Breakup or whatever. It's not that hard to respect I'm saying, but no. I don't really want to explain anymore. I gave some really understandable reason. I get that honestly, but please look at this from an outside perspective. You're restricting a movie genre. I don't know, I don't think I'm blinded or anything, but this isn't normal. I think you are. OP is not in the wrong here. Restricting an entire movie genre is completely absurd. I'd get if it was some type of movie genre they're just uncomfortable with watching with you, but to restrict you from watching the movie genre as a whole is completely disrespectful. Now, on to story number 3. Am I the a-hole for showing up underprepared to a hike and being put off with my friends for not warming me and also ditching me? Genuinely need help understanding if I'm a wuss who dragged everyone backwards today or if we're mad for the right reasons. I'll change minor details here for discretion. I've 31F had a friend group similar ages saying we'd like to get together for a hike sometime. We've scheduled, rescheduled, planned and unplanned babysitters and dog sitters, and finally managed it. So I'd been tossing out trail ideas, something easy, single day. My 2 friends say, we'd like to just hike the trail right by our place. And they essentially tell me it's a straight shot. We'll have a buddy drop us off on the other side of the hill and we'll hike over and essentially back down into their neighborhood. 6 hours, start to finish. So my boyfriend and I show up, backpacks, basic snacks, water bottles. They show up on bikes. Well, my boyfriend and I are a little confused. We thought this was a hike, for leisure. No rush, just sort of one foot in front of the other type thing. They say it's no rush, they may beat us, but we're all going back to the neighborhood. Plus, there are a bunch of scenic outlooks where they'll stop and we'll catch up. Well, to no one's surprise, we got left behind pretty quickly. No cell service to be spoken of. We kept having to crowd off to one side of ATVs ripping down the path. But the longer we keep walking, one thing becomes clearer and clearer. This is not any kind of hiking trail. It's not built for this at all, despite that being the original idea. Eventually, we stop and rest and wind up chatting with these guys who've pulled over on their ATVs. They've asked us where we're heading, and we tell them. It becomes immediately clear that we have much further to go than originally intended. Like several miles to go yet. These 2 were saints because they gave us a lift. The further we rode, the more astonished we became that anyone had expected us to do us on foot. It took us at least 15 more minutes to get there by ATV. We got back to Trailhead and realized it wasn't exactly right into the neighborhood like we'd been told, so we just started walking. Eventually, they came by and picked us up. I'd say maybe 20 minutes or so after we'd hit the main road. Told them we were too tired to stay for dinner, the original plan, and we booked out and grabbed something on the way home. Here's where I'm at. We're adults, I was clearly underprepared, and no one should have to be responsible for me. On the other hand, this trip was vastly misrepresented to us, and had I known, I would have told these people we didn't own mountain bikes and to count us out. This was not a hike. We have vastly different ideas of what constitutes as hike. I've been fielding calls about how, quote, how the way things went down. But honestly, I just said that I made it home safe and I'd talk to everyone later. My mom had been babysitting so we could go on, and when she asked me, I told her all of the above, and then said, I tried to hold it together because I figured maybe I was just tired and crabby, but then we had dinner and I was still upset. She genuinely asked me if these people were my friends. I'm going to sleep on it because it's fresh, but I feel like she's right. I felt like I was taking crazy pills today, because damn, at least tell me I'd be better off just going home. I felt like the people who knew the area misrepresented the trip, then totally effed off and left us to figure out a way back. Additionally, I get very few days off with a babysitter, so to have planned excessively for this, to have it go down that way was additionally disappointing. Although not everyone's fault, just gave an extra grievance, honestly. I don't know, it just feels like we got lost in the plot here somewhere, and I'm not demanding an apology. I'm just not going to be expecting help or logic from any of these people in the near future. OP is definitely not in the wrong here. The people who knew the hill definitely should have told OP that this wasn't a normal hiking trail and that it was a biking trail. It is very inconsiderate to not tell OP that this was a biking trail. Not to mention, they just left her there. They just dropped her off knowing she didn't have a bike and then left her behind. She could have gotten lost if those ATV riders weren't there. Now, onto story number 4. This one also includes text messages. They will be displayed on screen if anybody would like to see them. Am I overreacting because my boyfriend insists he wasn't yelling, but someone next to me asked if I was okay? For context, I recently attended a conference and had a really difficult experience. I felt excluded by a lot of people and came away feeling pretty terrible about myself. It affected me more than I expected, and I ended up crying in front of my boyfriend in a way I never have before. I felt very vulnerable. To his credit, he was supportive that day. The next day, I was still upset and wanted to talk about it. He started offering solutions, but I was more in an venting mood and just wanted somebody to listen. At some point, I apparently came across as rude. I genuinely didn't realize it. When he later told me I'd been rude, I apologized immediately. I told him that if I had hurt him, I'm sorry. Later that day, he sent me a photo of himself. I jokingly said that he looked old. It wasn't a nice thing to say, and I can see why I hurt his feelings. The irony is that he regularly jokes about me getting old and turning 30, even though he knows that's something I'm a little insecure about. After that, I was traveling and he didn't really continue the conversation. Later, he called me. From the beginning, he seemed very angry and annoyed. He kept asking things like, "Why are you calling?" and, quote, "What's the point?" Even though we were just talking, looking back, I suspect he was still upset about the comment I made, which would be fair, but instead of directly saying, "I'm hurt by what you said," he was passive-aggressive and hostile throughout the entire conversation. His voice got louder and louder during the call. I was sitting in the car with a friend, and after the call ended, she asked me if everything was okay because she could hear how he was speaking to me through the phone. When I later told him that he had raised his voice, he completely denied it. Not that he didn't mean to, not that he was frustrated, just that it didn't happen. What really bothers me is that this feels like a pattern. If I hurt him, I may be defensive at first, but I usually reflect on it and apologize. He often calls me immature, but when he's upset, it feels like he does things like this instead of communicating with me directly. If I tell him something that he said or hurt me, the conversation often becomes why my perception is wrong rather than acknowledging my feelings or his part in the situation. I honestly can't remember the last time he gave a genuine apology without spending a long time arguing that he hadn't done anything wrong. At this point, I'm less upset about the specific argument and more upset by the feeling that accountability that goes one way in this relationship. Am I overreacting? Now for the text messages. Blank heard you screaming at me through the phone. Not cool, bro. I was talking very calmly. This was uncalled for. I did not scream at any point. Stop making things up. Yeah, you did. Smiley face. Stop gaslighting me. I'm not. I know what I said and how I said. Yeah, other people are making stuff up. Stop painting a picture where you're a victim of domestic violence. She doesn't even understand Hindi. She heard you through the phone. Paige asked me, is everything okay? You were very loud, and instead of apologizing, you're doubling down. Very good. I did not shout, blank. Tell me which phrase did I shout? Why would she ask me that if you weren't loud? Can't even remember what I shouted. And it's become very normalized where you think you are not shouting when you actually are. Exactly, blank. You don't even know your own tone. That was a question to you. You kept on asking me, what do you want? Why are you calling me? Yup, asking, not shouting. Anyway, if you don't think you did, then how can I make you understand here? Rather than focusing on what other people are saying and start focusing on things that are actually wrong with us. You embarrass me. And we've always talked about not taking this public. Whatever fights we have, never do it publicly. First of all, I did not shout. Second, this was a private call and not a public discussion. Third, you could have pointed out that I was shouting/loud. At no point you did. Fourth, you could have suppressed the external perception by saying that he was not shouting. Very easy thing to do if someone misunderstood. If you don't understand this, even after all these points, then I don't know what to tell you. It's funny how two people were saying you were shouting and you're still doubling down and refusing to take responsibility. First, yes you did. Second, I know. That it's not like I put you on loudspeaker. Third, I kept talking calmly. I said something in Hindi. Fourth, I did that. But I can't magically hide the fact that you were indeed shouting. I don't succumb to external pressures. I know what I said and did. We are at an impasse. I don't have anything else to say. OP is definitely not in the wrong here. They were extremely condescending during the text messages, sending smiley faces when they know the other person's in a bad mood. Not to mention them saying don't paint yourself as a victim of domestic violence is an extreme red flag. She was never doing that to begin with, she was just trying to have a conversation about him yelling. I really hope OP gets out of this relationship because it honestly seems a little dangerous. That comes to the conclusion for today's video. If you enjoyed, please remember to like and subscribe, it really does help a lot, and if you have any suggestions, go ahead and comment them below. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of their day or night. Bye bye!